What up, y'all? It's Ttar, and today I'm gonna be proposing a theory that goes as such. There is gonna be a new dragon evolution specifically in Pokemon Legends Z. Now, we've been speculating, is the next game's gonna bring a new evolution, a steel one, a poison one? We've been doing this for a while now, right? And we even made a recent video talking about how there might have been an evolution that was supposed to be in Scarlet and Violet that Penny might have had, and they took it out last minute because maybe they're running out of time and stuff. And so that's why we were left with Penny having a very simple team compared to the other rivals of just evolutions and Pokemon we've already used to. And then, I mean, imagine this, right? She's the daughter of, I don't have to keep it a spoiler right now, of this man here who's a steel type champion. She could have had this steel type evolution as a big foreshadow for when it's finally revealed at the end of the Indigo disc who her dad is. Anyhow, that's not the topic of discussion. A dragon evolution is coming in this game, and I'm gonna start off my proposal like this. Now, whenever new evolutions were introduced, they're always introduced in a pair, right? So let's start from the beginning. When Eevee was introduced at the start, it was given the trio, the grass, fire, water trio to go with the evolutionary stones. Now you can actually use the leaf stone to get Leafeon, even though you couldn't in Gen 1. But anyhow, it starts in Gen 2 when they introduced Eevee's first pairing, Psychic and Dark, Umbreon and Espeon, and then it took 2 gens later to get to Glaceon and Leafeon. So there's a pattern here clearly, right? Eevee is a very popular Pokemon, so when they chose to make new forms for them, they made counterparts to kind of sell it like you sell 2 versions of a Pokemon game, right? That's a part of why they gave 2 forms. Then we get to Gen 6, and they introduced just one evolution, Sylveon. During the original X and Y hype season, we thought, okay, we know what's coming, it's always a pair. What is it gonna be? Steel Dragon? X and Y was 11 years ago, and since then, the Dragon Eevee never came. But now we're back in Kalos. And so I think they're gonna introduce Sylveon's pair in this game to bring it full circle what they started originally in Kalos. Now, you never know, because the original X and Y was cut short, maybe they were planning what I'm about to say in this video for when the Pokemon Z or Pokemon X2, Y2 side of stuff are gonna come out. They're gonna introduce the other side of Sylveon. But, you know, obviously as all that was scrapped, it's now pushed to this game. This realization started when we were recording the last video and I saw that Eevee was in the game. And they showed it to us very early, and it instantly made me realize this possibility. So this is how I think it'll go. They'll explain how in this game, which takes place like around 200 years before the current day in Kalos, that there was a popular known evolution of Eevee where it was a dragon type. Maybe the name was DRAKEON or Whirlyon, like a worm, the dragon version. And unlike the other evolutions, this was an evolution that brought a more like greedy or cynical nature to Eevee. And so what happened in these pre-Kalosian days is Sylveon often fought with the DRAKEON, and DRAKEON perished in numbers until the evolution was generally lost. And so you get to the modern days and there is no DRAKEON left, it's just Sylveon. And that's why it's alone in the pairing. It killed its other half, in a sense. Now, part of why I'm wording it like this is something funny that arose in 2019 when Sword and Shield first came out. A lot of Pokemon got new Pokedex entries, including Sylveon, where Sylveon's had a whole myth attached to it. It's a Pokedex entry exclusive to Galar. So it says, there's a Galarian fairy tale that describes a beautiful Sylveon vanquishing a dreadful dragon Pokemon. Doesn't that sound very interesting? Now, I have a feeling I understand what Game Freak was originally planning with this. That the theme of this UK-based game, you know, King Arthur fighting the dragon and all, is just the general tale of quelling the threat that is a dragon. But now that we're re-entering Kalos, and we know Game Freak has scrapped stuff in the past, we can re-look at this and wonder if there was a second meaning to it. Now, of all the Pokemon they could have given this Pokedex entry to, of conquering a dragon, they gave it specifically to Sylveon, the Pokemon that always had its other half missing. And they even made it the typing that it conquers, the typing that would be missing. Remember, X and Y, the whole theme was fairy and dragon. Sylveon's counterpart wouldn't make as much sense to be something like poison or steel, because those would beat fairy, as dragon as the other half. And so looking back at this Pokedex entry is what caused me to start the video the way I said, which is that there might have been a dragon evolution scrap that was saved for X and Y second half. And so Game Freak always knew in the back of their minds, yeah, there is a Dragon Eevee we have to introduce at some point, so we'll tease bits of it here. And so they decided to tease it in the region with the dragon theme to it, which was Galar. And the other cool thing about this is it's a Galarian fairy tale, and Galar is very close to Kalos, extremely close. Enough that people who could have witnessed it in the region next door would come to this region and tell this cool tale, which was how it would make the fairy tale. So the tale I told is how a lot of Sylveon mass took out the Drakeons, and this would be the fairy tale. Now the second part of my theory talks about why I worded the Drakeon to be a little cynical in nature, and it stems back to more of Sylveon's Pokedex entries. So let's actually go all the way back to what Sylveon's first entries were, which was the original lore surrounding it. Look at it. In Pokemon X, it sends a soothing aura from its ribbon-like feelers to calm fights. When I read that, it made me think, okay, so Sylveon is this very peaceful Pokemon, and it uses its power to calm things down. So whatever Drakeon should be the complete opposite of that. The opposite of soothing, and the Pokemon that needs to be calmed down. The Y entry says it wraps its ribbon-like feelers around the arm of its beloved trainer and walks in front of him or her. So it's a very affectionate Pokemon, and remember, back then, the way you evolved Sylveon was through affection, using the Pokemon at Me feature. So what maybe Game Freak was planning was for Eevee, in the first games, if you gave it affection through Pokemon at Me, you can get Sylveon. And then when the sequels come out, they'll introduce a way that you could fail the Pokemon at Me game or something and decrease your affection. And if you decreased its affection enough and it had a dragon move, it would evolve into Drakeon. I think that's what they were planning. My next piece of evidence. Are you ready for this? So remember how I said Game Freak in the back of their head, they always knew eventually they would have to reveal that dragon evolution. They mess with Sylveon's Pokedex entry in other games. Check this out. In Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, once a fight breaks out, it will unflinchingly charge at dragon Pokemon that are many times larger than itself. Now, it's talking about actual dragon Pokemon like Druddigon, Como, and stuff. But look how it has in its blood, in its muscle memory, the instinct to defeat dragon Pokemon. And so this is the full picture painted. After all these years of waiting, Masuda, we're back in Kalos. All those scrap notes, it's coming in this game, and they're making Drakeon. And they'll reveal the story. You'll be living in the times of Kalos where Drakeon are more popular, and so you'll be hearing the dangers that Drakeon cause, as well as how Sylveon are protectors that help fight the Drakeon. And maybe you're witnessing this fairy tale that ends up being told to Galarians play out. And so this is how, since it's been a while since the Sylveon evolution and the Pokemon at Me feature no longer exists, this is how I think the evolution will happen. So you'll take Eevee to a location exclusive to the older Kalos days. It'll be some dragon cave where many dragon Pokemon live. It'll be very dark and all. And if Eevee has a dragon move and you level it up there, it will evolve into Drakeon. So this counterparts the refined way Eevee evolves in modern games, which instead of affection, it's just a fairy move and high friendship. And so the purpose of this cave would be something like it has a gloomy, dark aura and essence to it. It's like a dangerous cave, and the main place that Eevee discovered this Drakeon evolution. It's essentially the same thing as the Mossy Rock and Ice Rock, but a better example is like the Charged Stone Cave. But the point is to give it this evolution method that makes it obvious they're going down a dark path kind of if you evolve it in this cave. And the other reason to make it an evolution like this is to show why no one ever got Drakeon again after Sylveon pushed them far back enough and they became this lost evolution. I think is coming in this game. Now, it would be a little odd because Pokemon like Ursaluna, Cleaver, once you move on past the game they're introduced in, they're kind of hard to get. And since this would counterpart Sylveon, you would think it should be more attainable than something only exclusive to a Legends game. But it's easy to get by this. All they have to do is introduce a new stone, right? Like the Dragon Stone or something. And then you have Eevee hold it in future games while it has a dragon move and you can recreate the evolution. You know, a stone that came from that cave that the Eevees used to evolve in. It's a long time coming, my dudes, and you know, even they could do something super interesting, which is in Pokemon Legends ZA, along with this Drakeon and Sylveon, there's actually the Drakeonite and Sylveonite exclusive to these games, just to put the two at the peak of their power, because we know they're about to scrap it out just to add more to how much they fought back then, that they even had Mega Stones and all. It'd be great new Mega Evolutions to introduce. I know they haven't done any for Eevee, but you know Mega Evolutions aren't going to exist after these games, so whatever Mega Evolutions we get are going to be locked to these games. You might as well introduce it for these two. It's actually two good candidates for it. Anyhow, that's my theory. I'm telling y'all, there is a 99% chance, I would even say 100, but Masuda gonna screw me over, that Drakeon is coming in this game. Y'all let me know your thoughts, and we'll talk about Mega Evolutions next time. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.